Welcome to CBC Windsor News at 6. I'm Meg Roberts. Thanks so much for spending part of your evening with us tonight. The NDP is pushing back on a law that charges hospital patients if they don't move to a long-term care bed. This comes after an exclusive interview we aired days ago. Plus, we bring you some key recommendations that came out of an inquest following the death of a man who killed himself after a police standoff. And today was the Detroit Tigers' home opener. We have a Rose City rewind that might leave you feeling nostalgic. The NDP is pushing back on Ontario's long-term care law. The provincial government confirmed 7 people were charged for not moving from hospital to a long-term care bed, but won't answer further questions about the policy. The CBC's Jennifer LaGrassa has the story.
This is the stuff that matters. This is our community.
Chatham-Kent Leamington MPP Trevor Jones was in Leamington today as 6 new classrooms were revealed at St. Louis Catholic Elementary School. The Conservative politician did not want to speak with CBC News about concerns raised around Bill 7 in our recent reporting. The policy allows hospitals to charge people $400 a day if they refuse to move into a long-term care bed chosen on their behalf. Earlier this week, CBC News aired the story of a Chatham resident who paid $5,200 last year. That report pushed the government to admit that 7 people have been charged since the law took effect a year and a half ago. Despite this, Jones didn't think it was the time or place to answer questions. He referred CBC News to a statement the Ministries of Health and Long-Term Care sent out previously. Meanwhile, in Windsor, an NDP MPP called on the government to do better.
For the government to respond to someone who is saying they were charged $5,200 while they waited to go to the long-term care home of their choosing close to their family, for the government to say, oh, we didn't know that was happening or it would happen, is really hard to believe, frankly, when they're the ones that wrote the legislation and made it clear that there would be charges if people didn't go to whatever home they were told to go to.
Gretzky says the government should be investing in public health care and staffing empty beds rather than forcing vulnerable patients to make hard decisions. CBC News also reached out to the Ministry of Health to ask where in the province people had been billed, how much people have paid, and what hospitals do with the revenue. A spokesperson for the minister said in an emailed statement, due to personal health information and privacy, the ministry cannot comment on who has been charged by a hospital under Bill 7. Since the bill came into effect, the government says at least 293 patients went to long-term care homes they didn't want. Jennifer LaGrassa, CBC News, Windsor.
Police have arrested a man in connection to a sexual assault case at St. Clair College's South Windsor campus. Yesterday, police circulated photo of a 20-year-old and say today he turned himself in. Police said the alleged assault took place Monday night when a man led a woman to a stairwell and sexually assaulted her. He's now facing charges of sexual assault and forcible confinement. The college is reminding students of its Safe Walk Escort program. That's for people concerned about walking around campus at night. The school says it also has counseling and other services available to help students in distress.
I think one of the things that we've learned in this is, again, when a situation happens, again, the situation has to be investigated. Knowing that this happened, there has been some comments on social media, et cetera, that we should have been out telling everyone about it right away. Well, someone's accusation against someone else is not real until it gets investigated by the right authorities. And I think that's kind of a misunderstanding that we haven't done anything. We've been doing a lot of things quietly, that taking it as real. But until we are directed by Windsor Police in this situation, we've followed the guidelines.
7 years ago, Chad Romanic died after he killed himself following a standoff with Windsor Police. An inquest was held to prevent similar deaths from happening. Last night, a jury made 15 recommendations to do just that. The CBC's Dale Mullner has the story.
34-year-old Chad Romanic shot himself with a shotgun at this home on Betts Avenue on September 15, 2017. It was during a standoff with police who were there to arrest him on a charge of attempted murder. Just days before that, police escorted him to an emergency room suffering from a mental health crisis. He was assessed and released. Since then, there have been a number of initiatives put in place to help people in crisis, such as the Mental Health Addiction Urgent Care Clinic in downtown Windsor And the Windsor Police have created a crisis response team and a nurse police team where nurses go out with police on mental health crisis calls. The jury is recommending more coordination of those response teams and additional training and communication among service providers. They also want Hotel Dieu Grace Healthcare to look into the feasibility of expanding its mental health addiction urgent care clinic to provide 24-hour coverage. Right now, it's open Monday through Friday from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m.
I understand the merit behind that recommendation, and certainly we agree with that. That will take some time to work through with our partners, with the Ontario Health team, with Ontario Health West, with service providers. The narrative here is that the system needs to be tighter. We need to be more connected. We need to be more available in a much more timely fashion. And partners need to do a better job at connectedness.
CBC reached out to MPP Andrew Dowie for comment, but was told he was unavailable today. Meanwhile, recommendations were also directed at Windsor Police. In a statement to CBC News, Deputy Chief Carl de Graaf said, "We are grateful to the members of the jury for their time and commitment during the inquest and welcome this opportunity to examine our existing procedures and policies to ensure we are providing the best policing services to our community, including individuals who are going through mental health crisis." CBC News has been unable to reach a member of Romanic's family for comment. During the inquest, Windsor Regional Hospital said it's opposed to their recommendation to expand Hotel Dieu's 24-hour service at the urgent care clinic, but refused comment on the jury's recommendations. The jury's recommendations are non-binding. Dale Molnar, CBC News, Windsor.
Next week, the Ontario NDP will debate Bill 173 at Queen's Park, which would declare intimate partner violence an epidemic in Ontario. A mother of a Windsor woman allegedly murdered by her own husband says the government needs to do that. Police recovered the body of Fartumo Kuso's daughter, Sarah Boulay, last year. They've arrested and charged Boulay's husband with first-degree murder. Today, Kuso says her family still carries the trauma of her daughter's death.
That is not just personal tragedy. It's the stark reminder of all the Zahras out there that need the support to get out, need to be acknowledged. All the mothers out there that are trying to save this daughter or this son out of tragedy. And we have this fever caused by this virus that's invading us, going and growing and growing. So if that's not showing the government, intimate partner violence is pervasive, predictable, and I don't know what else would convince them. And we want the government to stand and say and accept the first step of that report that they commissioned.
Windsor police say that intimate partner violence makes up nearly half of all assaults they respond to. The city has declared IPV an epidemic. It's a movement spearheaded by an inquest into the deaths of 3 women in eastern Ontario. All 3 were killed by a former partner. The first recommendation from the inquest was to declare intimate partner violence an epidemic. The province rejected the recommendation, saying IPV is not an infectious or communicable disease.
I'm hoping that that there has been enough pressure, that there have been enough people speak up. We've invited people to join us at Queen's Park April 10th for the debate, and we've got a lot of RSVPs from people around the province that are coming because it's such an important topic. So I think there is an opportunity here for the government to take a really solid rethink of their initial position, to have the conversations with the survivors, with the families, with the support agencies, and see that the direction they went was wrong and that they need to change direction.
With the eclipse just days away, there are religions and cultures that will view it differently. In Hindu communities, it can be seen as an ominous event. Some celebrations even get pushed back a day so they don't coincide with the eclipse. There are also some Hindu astronomers who go back as early as the 6th century to help explain eclipses.
We close the temple before 1 hour. The event has been happened, or maximum 3 hours before the event happened. We say that because it's a pain to the Lord, because Lord has to take care about this phenomena, because the moon and sun and one of the we call live planet also. So we believe in the planets.
The story of eclipses is, especially solar eclipses, revolves around demons swallowing the sun. So it's seen generally as ominous. I think in modern India, that also leads to many people being discouraged to view the eclipse. Although, also as a Hindu astronomer, I don't completely agree with that. Over time, like I know, like 6th century, like there were Hindu scientists, like astronomers, who were trying to explain that no, this is not some shadow planet eating up the sun. This happens when the moon comes in front of the sun.
Colette, you wore your glasses yesterday, and it got me excited to wear mine today. But these are so dark, you cannot see anything, no light at all.
Yeah, that's how I felt when I had mine on yesterday. By the way, those look very nice on you, Meg. Yes, I love it. Strike a pose.
I can't see it. I can't see the teleprompter, and it's so bright in here. People don't understand how seriously light all these lights are, but I can't see a single thing. So I actually have to take them off so I can read off the teleprompter.
Yeah, and there you go, right? Because it is so bright with all the lights in the studio, and that gives you an indication of just the kind of protection. I mean, I know it's a little bit different, but the kind of protection that they are providing. So they are so important, whether or not you're in the path of totality or perhaps just outside of it. All right, let's show you what's happening. We'll get to the forecast for Monday and the eclipse, but I mean, day after day, we've been dealing with the same system. Maybe you're a little tired of it. I'm getting even tired of talking about this one because it's time it moved along, but we've been in another blocking pattern. We had been in a blocking pattern where we were on the positive side of things, and then we've fallen onto the more negative side in terms of cloud cover and precipitation, which we've seen a bit of everything today. Some sunny breaks, some sprinkles, mixing at time with some wet flurries. That's coming back, mostly sprinkles due to the temperature profile. And then, of course, the winds in here as well. Now, speaking of those temperatures, you could see some cooler air north and to the east, but winds are still at 8, Chatham-Kent at 5, and those northerly winds, the sustained winds, they're significant enough, but then we have some stronger gusts. At times, some of those gusts there at Chatham-Kent over 50 kilometers an hour. And looking ahead, there'll still be a wind flow coming from the north to northwest as we go into Saturday. So there's still going to be a cooler feel. And there's still going to be a wind of 20, 25, 30 kilometers an hour at times, but they won't be as strong, won't be as gusty, not talking about gusts over 40 or 50 kilometers an hour. So a little improvement there. Also, a little improvement in our sky conditions, all right? We will start off with variable skies to some cloud cover, and then that will decrease as we go through the day. I know it's going to take some time, but just keeping in mind that at this time of year, the sun is setting a few minutes after 8 o'clock. So once it clears, there's still going to be about 5 hours or more to enjoy the sunshine. Into Sunday, we still have sun looking good till late in the day. Unfortunate on that timing that it is late in the day. Another system is going to start to poke its nose in here for us into Monday morning. We could have some showers early Monday. Yes, some cloud cover, but it looks like the timing right now is that those may just pass along once we get closer to that really important window, 2:30 to kind of 3:30 in there, all right? So things still looking like they could be okay, and the clouds a bit higher so that we might be able to see through those as that system kind of falls apart. 2 tonight. How about that? 12 degrees for tomorrow, and then Sunday looking good. And hey, on Eclipse Day, Meg, some mild temperatures coming our way too with that system moving in.
No matter what, it looks like it's going to be warm, so that's a plus.
There you go, right?
Thanks so much for that, Colette.
You're welcome.
There's a sure sign of spring over at Wings Wildlife Rehab in Amherstburg. Little furry creatures begin arriving in bunches because babies are starting to be born. Our video producer Mike Evans took a trip to the county to see a baby great horned owlet.
When owls come in, just like any other raptor, they're very susceptible to imprinting on humans. So we always make sure we have a stuffed animal. This is our little mama great horn in front. Having that stuffed animal in front while you're feeding makes them see that, and you're kind of hidden behind it. So they could see us, but because they see food coming from the angle of the mom owl, it makes them think that it's a real owl feeding them. This great horned owl is about a week and a half old. He came in on this Wednesday, so April 3rd. He came in because the finder found him cold on the ground in the forest. He had very little life to him. So we got him on heat right away and got some good warm fluids into him. We have located the tree, and there is hopes that if he is strong enough that we can reunite him with the family.
Do you have any idea of how this guy fell out of the nest?
So there could be a number of reasons. A lot of the time, raptors will either get pushed out of the nest by their siblings. Sometimes storms can push them out of the nests, or even mites, so bugs. If there's a high parasitic load, it can chase the birds off the nest. We don't think that was the case for this one. We think this one may have came down in that recent rain we had.
It was a Detroit Tigers home opener today, which means a lot of sick calls happening in Windsor, Essex to catch a part of the action. And it was the same thing back in 1986. The Tigers played the Boston Red Sox, and like today, they pulled off a big win.
Well, this is what we've been waiting for. A beautiful sunny day, warm weather, green grass at Tiger Stadium, and of course, the Detroit Tigers back home from training camp. We've had all the speculation about who'll be playing third, who'll be playing outfield, who'll be in the starting lineup, who'll be leading off. But today is the real thing. We'll find out for sure as the 1986 season gets underway for the Detroit Tigers.
Strike two to Gibby. And a long drive. It's gone way back out of here. Gibby has done it again.
I don't think I've ever seen a better opening day in my life.
He has done it again. And the Tigers take the lead.
Coming up, we chat with Josiah Sinanen for our Week's End segment. Stay tuned. It's now time to check in with Josiah Sinanen for our Week's End segment. What are you sharing with us tonight?
Yeah, Meg. So today I want to introduce you to a member of our community that we had the pleasure of having on Afternoon Drive's radio show earlier this week. Her name is Paige Ashley. And Meg, she's a singer-songwriter who lives in Harrow. And at just 17 years old, she's kind of making a name for herself. She's spreading a message of hope through her music for those who have lost a loved one to an opioid overdose. I spoke to Paige earlier this week about her music and her life experience. And as she processed a personal loss herself, she found herself performing for a lot of events that help those who deal with losses to drug overdoses. And one of her songs has kind of become an anthem for that local community. Let's take a listen.
And I say goodnight to you every night. I don't know if you can hear me, but that's alright.
I've had a lot of family members struggle with like addiction and alcoholism and those kinds of issues. And my aunt, my mom's sister, she passed away from an overdose a little bit before my 9th birthday. And so when I was younger, I took it really hard and I didn't really understand like all of that kind of stuff. And my parents tried to like shelter me from it. But as I got a bit older, I realized that I never properly processed that. And so I wrote a song called 7 Years. It was kind of my tribute to her. I performed at like a women's shelter in Windsor and the Boonies in Tilbury. I've done like some Canadian mental health organization, like raising money for that. And, you know, I just really want to use music for what's important for me, like for advocacy and that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm a queer woman, and so it's really important for me to kind of use my music to like build that kind of stuff up and create a community and let people know that there's other people that have the same issues out there and like how you can help.
What a beautiful tribute to her aunt. What is Paige up to now?
Well, Meg, Paige is actually working towards graduating high school this year, but she's also celebrating the release of her first EP, which is, of course, a mini album filled with songs that she wrote. It's a really strong piece, Meg. It's called Fallacy, and that EP came out just last month. And Meg, Paige told us that ever since she was young, she wanted to be a rock star. So this is a big full circle moment for her. And in the fall, she'll be heading to Western to take their popular music program. And of course, if you want to hear that full interview with Paige, you can go on the CBC Listen app and search for Afternoon Drive. Definitely a local to keep an eye on.
She looks and sounds just like a rock star already.
Absolutely, Meg.
Thanks so much for that, Josiah.
Thank you.
A unique friendship with an octopus. We share with you one BC woman's story coming up. One of the earliest headlines of the pandemic was halting surgeries like joint replacements. Now hospitals are trying to catch up on the backlog. The CBC's Christine Birak looks at the progress made and the obstacles that still remain.
Canadians are waiting longer for more procedures compared to 2019.
We're still seeing the, lingering effects of the pandemic.
But researchers also say more surgeries are happening, which means
things are trending in the right direction.
But there's a long way to go. The goal is to have 90% of Canadians have their hip replaced within 26 weeks of a booking date. The latest national data reveals in 2023, the number was only 66%. Ontario did better at nearly 80%. All other provinces fell well below average, including BC, Alberta, and Quebec. PEI had the longest waits. Similarly, 60% of Canadians had their knee replaced within the goal. In Ontario, the number was higher. All other provinces fell short. In Quebec, just 38% had their knee replaced within about 6 months.
As we've ramped up all of our capacity, we are looking at doing more cases than we're actually funded for.
Some Ontario hospitals collaborated to do as many surgeries as possible. Here at Humber, the province only funded about 1,500 hip and knee surgeries last year.
Some hospitals may stop at that cap because many hospitals are in a lot of deficit given the current climate.
Humber performed 2,300 with help from fundraising.
There needs to be a recognition of this problem and accountability on how we're going to solve it.
The Canadian Orthopedic Association recommends running hospital operating rooms evenings and weekends, stabilizing staffing, and adds data should guide fixing backlogs.
It's not just about, counting wait times. There's actually individuals who are affected by this.
And with an aging population, the demand for procedures is only going up. Experts insist the best time to properly equip our health system was 20 years ago. The next best time is now. Christine Birak, CBC News, Toronto.
A BC woman has made an unusual new friend after an encounter with a giant octopus. Initially, she was scared when it wrapped its tentacles around her leg, but that fright soon turned to smiles.
Hey, baby, please don't hurt me. He's on my leg.
I was terrified because I looked down, I was in the octopus suit, and he had his tentacles wrapped around both my legs, and the grip was so strong, it felt like I was getting my blood pressure taken on my calves. I was shaking, and I thought that was it. I thought I was going to die. I thought he was going to spray me with that venomous dye, and there was no escaping. All of a sudden, I just told myself, okay, I have to calm down. I'm going to have a heart attack. And then miraculously enough, he calmed himself down and then he loosened his grip and then he floated away a little bit. I had so many comments saying, pet him, pet him, pet him. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so afraid. I did. I pet him. I watched his horns stand up and he seemed to enjoy it. And I kind of felt this really weird connection with it. I guess I've had about 10 encounters with him now. Like I'm actually starting to fall in love with this guy. He's like a little ocean puppy. He comes to me and just me, no one else. I'm the chosen one.
An unusual friendship for sure. Well, that's it for CBC Windsor News. Don't forget, for news anytime, you can go to our website at cbc.ca/Windsor. You can also download the CBC News app for stories that matter most to you. And don't forget to watch The National tonight at 9 on CBC News Network, 10 p.m. on the CBC News app, CBC TV, and streaming. Thanks so much for tuning in. Looking forward to seeing you back here next week.